Sorry I'm a little late, everybody. Who's watching, if anybody's watching. My internet wasn't working. Apparently AT&T has a power down there, so I had to mess around with my Wi-Fi. Get signal enough to do this. Oh, I actually did the brake pads on this car last summer, and it has destroyed the rotors. I had read several people online said that Kia soles are really hard on brake pads and rotors, and I guess that's true. So I've already got the car up in the air. Make sure y'all don't fall over. I'm going to take the wheel off, do the pads. I'm only going to do this side because it's the same as the other side, so there's no point in y'all watching me do the side. And of course it's going to be ultra windy today. Wimby. So I'm going to start out. I bought these. They're OMT brand. I bought them off eBay. They have this nice little felt thing or whatever it is that keeps it from scratching the rim. I've not used them yet, but if you're wondering what I'm using here, this is Porter Cable Mid Torque. I actually bought this. I really like it. I've been wanting one for a while, and this was on sale. And I can use it with the rest of my 20 volt Porter Cable. Well, I'll pick you all up in a minute. It's just windy enough to knock the camera over. Let's see if we can get you from somewhere. Alright, so I'll just rotate where I'm at. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do, got the wheel off, I'm going to soak the 2 bolts for the rotor that hold the rotor on with PB Blaster penetrating oil. That way, as I'm changing the pads, we can be soaking. It'll be easier to break loose. Sprayed the one on top. Sprayed the one on bottom. Okay, now let's get these pads off. Should be a 12 or a 14 millimeter bolt. Okay, probably be a 13 no my luck. Nope, it is a 14. Okay. Okay, there's one bolt. 2 bolts. Okay. This actually has 2 set screws in the rotor too, so I'll go ahead and spray those with PB Blaster. Let them creep. Okay, got both bolts loose. Yes, one loose. Both bolts out. So I'll take the caliper off. Ooh, tiny caliper. Set it over here. Make sure it doesn't hang. Pop the pads out. Pads look really good actually, but the rotor itself is screwed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and change it. So now I'll break this guy loose. Looks like it's 16 maybe. Let's see. Nope, it's a 14 as well. 14. If you're wondering why I took these apart separately, that way I can set the caliper over and work on the caliper, and then set this bracket loose so I can re-grease the sliders separately. Because caliper is attached, as a brake line. Okay, 1 bolt. Now I have an electric ratchet and an air power ratchet. That was smart. Right, now, got that loose. As you can see, these are the bigger bolts for the bracket. Those are the smaller bolts for the caliper. Okay, so when I get ready to put this back on, I will take these sliders out. Regrease them. Now, getting the caliper off. Like I said, you have 2 set screws. What I'm going to do, probably, is get a drill. Alright, so I have an impact driver here. Like I said, I'm using all Porter cable 20 volt. Let's see if this impact driver will knock that guy loose. Yeah, oh man. That's luck. Those were either not very tight, the PV blaster did its job, or the impact driver is the trick. 2 screws. So now, we'll see if this rotor, how long this rotor will be to pop off. May need a mallet. We're going to have to get a mallet or a mallet. Dead blow hammer or something. Okay. Got a mallet. Got a mallet, as you can see. Just do a few whacks. Sometimes what you can do is take a little bit of PV blaster, spray on the lug studs where the lug stud actually meets the rotor, and that will get in there and bust up some of that corrosion. What happens is these get corroded to the hub. As they get corroded to the hub, because it's stiff. Ta-da! Rotor's off. Okay. New rotor. Brand spanking new rotor from Napa. Now, make sure you have 2 holes for set screws. 1, 2. You also have 2 holes make sure, I hate to put y'all there, but all over. Like that, y'all up here closer, but so make sure you line up those holes. These holes. If you look, they are beveled. Turn that to the top. Put this on the top. So this can only go on one way. Okay? Because if you look, this hole's on that side, that one's on that side. So if you put this up here, the hole would be on over there, not over here. Okay, so now we'll put our screws back in. Screws. One. Okay, another one. Okay. Okay, that's good. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our brake bracket that holds the caliper on, pull the sliders out, make sure not to tear the little boot. Okay, Okay, like such. You can either buy a big tube of grease, or you can buy the little like dollar job packs. Sometimes the brake pads come with them, sometimes they don't. So what I'm going to do, put some on there, take the tip, spread it around. If you watch some of my other videos, it seems like every time I go to work on a car outside and shoot video, my neighbor decides to mow. I don't know. They're like, oh, Cody's outside working shooting video. It probably should be quiet. But anyways, all right, I've got, as you can see, I put it on there. You can spread it out if you want to. What I do is when I put it in, I kind of spin it. So I'll put this back in. The reason I'm going to put them back in is that because sometimes the top and the bottom are different, so that way you know which one's which. All right, same as the other side. Goop it on. Blech. If you get like a big glob, you can just spread out that big glob. Take the tip of your thing, your finger, pack, your screwdriver, whatever. Okay, put it back in. Boop, and like I said, once I get it in, I give it a little spin. Kind of spins everything around on the bolt and in here. Both those are in. All right, rotor's on. Look at our pads. Like I said, these are from Napa. You can catch sometimes. My advice is if you're doing brakes, look at Advance or AutoZone or O'Reilly, kind of compare. I know at AutoZone and Advance, if you buy pads and rotors, you get 15% off. Napa was running a special that if you bought the better pads, the premium pads, you got like 15% off plus an extra 10 or whatever. So I got running at the premium pads. So now it does have hardware here. I normally don't change the hardware, but since it's here, I'm going to. Pay attention when you buy pads. Some of them say with hardware, some of them don't. Try and get the, if you can pay a few dollars more, get the one with hardware, it's normally better. Like I said, sometimes it does come with a little tube of this stuff. That's a big deal. And especially, I bought a set the other day, Power Stop, that came with these boots. That's a big deal too. So what you do is you just literally, these will just pop out normally. Sometimes you gotta get flathead. And then they just snap back in. Which is all. Grab this tab, pull it off. If it's kind of stuck, you can get a flathead. Take the new one. Pop it back on. Brand new hardware. Now something else I do recommend doing, you take a little bit of grease, the same grease you use for your sliders, any type of grease, put it in here. What you're doing to spread the grease out, that's where the pads meet this, so that could cut down on noise. You got pad on metal, so you could get some noise. It's something I've started doing recently. I can't speak to whether or not there's a huge difference in it, but in my head it makes sense. Okay, so we'll put take our two bolts, make sure you get your bigger ones, and these have lock washers on them. So what we will do, slide this guy back on. Where's my ratchet? Okay, snug these down. snug. Okay. Now we will take our pads. You got 2 pads, one with screamer bar, one without. Screamer bar goes on the inside. Okay, slide these in. Plus that little bit of grease I put in there actually makes them join a lot quicker. Now let's see if we have to compress this caliper in, or if we can muscle it on there without it. Oh yeah. Well, these pads were just done last summer. I didn't have to compress it, but normally you have to compress the caliper. And my other bolt. Try and be even with it. Okay. Put the wheel back on, this side's done. I'm going to throw this rotor in my recycling.
Like somebody's working.
Changing some brake pads.
Brake pads.
And a rotor.
They do wear out.
Yeah, I just did them last summer, but this rotor's shot. Never seen one wear out that fast. So, oh well. They're paying me, so.
It's nice weather out here, though.
Oh yeah, if it would just stay like this, it'd be perfect.
It would. I agree with you. Have a good one.
You too. A little bit of advice. Always try and start your bottom lug nut. Always start all your lug nuts by hand. That way you know they're not cross-threaded. One bad thing about wearing gloves is sometimes you can't feel. Okay. Get all these started. Star pattern, remember? Alright, I got all impact. Remember star pattern. That's it. Just changed brake pads and rotors on this Kia Soul. I don't know how long we've been live, but that's how long it took, everybody. So now that we're done with that, like I said, I'm going to do the other side. I really won't video the other side because it's the exact same. So just make sure you're safe. I do have this on jack stands. Thanks, everybody.